We have to be.
The sooner we start, the sooner we finish. Right?
Quick up.
All right, I call the April 24th, 2023 meeting of the Southborough Personnel Board to order. We do not have minutes for approval today. Nothing for the next meeting. Moving on to the expenditure ledger, the only change is we finally did get a complete score sheet from Collins Center, so we did pay them the remaining $5,000 that we owe them. That's the only difference from what you've seen previously. Any questions about that? Moving on to the hiring departure report.
Just want to report although today, actually, I'm the building commissioner start. So Casey Birmingham is onboarding and onboarding currently. So we're very happy to have him in place.
To recall, we previously approved the compensation rate. Was that on to old business and doing development? Vanessa, what?
Gary and I were chatting late last week about some of the details, and we didn't have a chance to get something in writing in your packet. But we have gone back to talk with Kelly Ritter, who did the DEI course for us in the past, to bring her back to do the same type of session for our mid-level and our admin support. And he is able to do that for the $4,000. You know, we decided to stick with just Kelly as Kelly and the facilitator. But the facilitator, if we use the facilitator, we can be more expensive. It also would be all virtual. Because the facilitator is not in this. So we thought it would be better to have, you know, Kelly in person. She's been here before, great reviews, and it's just better. So she is able to do that. I'm sorry, it's 2,500, $4,000. So we're requesting $2,500 for the DEI. We've gone back and forth regarding when we can schedule this, and didn't get a chance to update the chair, but she has given us some dates in May, which would be May 15th and May 24th. Usually they were either in June, and you know, we're really trying to bring the training in early, so he would be able to do that in mid-May. The other topic we discussed last month was a public speaking workshop. Mark Way is another consultant we've used in the past for some leadership development, some onboarding training. He's able to do a public speaking workshop for $450. And that really would be sort of tips on presentation skills, you know, how to deal with anxiety in speaking, and you know, pull off the, you know, the clearest and best confident presentations when you're doing presentations, whether it's, you know, to a board or committee like or to town meeting, or just in general with, you know, some of our frontline employees dealing with, you know, difficult residents or challenging situations downstairs or in our other buildings. That's something that did come up as a request this year. We've never done it. And you know, I think that's a great topic because nobody ever really gets trained. Sort of put out there.
Thrown to the wolf.
Right. So that would be $450. So one other item we wanted to confront you from the board was the more specific computer training. Jay and I have been talking about what kind of advanced courses, you know, would be helpful for our staff. One thing that's come up more recently is we have 5 or 6 departments that use Canva, which is brochures, you know, flyers, what we use for you know, our social media, you know, graphic program. We've all sort of taught ourselves. You know, we get by pretty well, but we would really like to see a course in that. New Horizons is one company we've used in the past. Jay is looking at some other companies that's really an on-demand service because majority of it now is online. So the Canva in particular is something that a number of we would like to see up to $1,000, to work on Canva, and perhaps with other things like advanced Excel, advanced PowerPoint. So Jay and I have been talking about, what departments would need something, of an advanced level.
But you'll come back to us with those ideas.
Yes,
Oh, the clock's ticking though. right?
Yes.
So it sounds like you're trying to cram a year's worth of training into 2 months, and we've all acknowledged that June is not a good month to have training in the municipal area. And obviously, we can't pay for these trainings until they're completed, right? Like from a
correct.
accounting perspective.
Both the DEI and the public speaking would be done during the month of May. The things like the Canva, because they're on demand, we're still investigating how that would work, but we think, we could do that pretty soon. Because it's just, sort of a virtual training.
It's not more of a in person, it's just you log in, watch the video,
So you buy a license,
buy a license.
and then once you buy the license, technically accounting would cut the check, and then you would set parameters of how long someone has to complete it.
We do all that. Pretty much than, having a person.
Okay, so we could buy the license this fiscal year and people would still be doing their training into,
Yeah,
FY
they're using it. Well, the entire year.
So is that license for 12 months?
Typically, it's a 12-month license, so it's not gonna be like, you buy it. 21 days. It'd Be pretty.
But we don't know who would do that yet. You're looking at New Horizons, but you're also looking at other places. So we don't know really what the cost would be for them.
Yeah, it's not gonna. Well, that's what we were just talking about. Like it's more, like he said, it's more of the online portion. It's not gonna be in person schedule the date they have to be here. That's right.
And we've looked at a couple of different companies, just to get, sort of an idea of the price.
I just like to know how much it is before we. Like a solid number.
okay, how do people feel about the DEI training? 2,500 in person,
And that's for all town employees?
Yes,
And what are you doing about a process to make sure people show up?
we're gonna settle on a date and then we're going to go to all the departments and figure out how many people can attend.
Can you require it?
I can.
Except for like off-duty, I realize off-duty public safety personnel,
Yes.
that's gonna probably be like your largest cap, but
Right,
and obviously if an emergency happens, right, but like thinking about. Like, I think one thing I advocated for last year, but and I forget what we were doing at the time, close this building down. Close Porterville Hall down for X number of hours. The only excuse should be that they have pre-approved vacation time
right.
and
It is,
figure out
I
what,
will say it is difficult, to mandate that for employees that work for elected boards, but we will use as much emphasis as possible.
I agree with that. But I also would say, Mark is the personnel director, right? And this is certainly falls within, I think, that.
Yeah, I don't want to spend $2,500 and 3 people show up.
No,
I would cancel it.
not hold it. if it
I
turned out to
mean,
be-
should we give a minimum number if they don't show? I mean, I don't want to throw away $2,500 either, so.
Here's what, and so I'm fully on board with doing the training. I would like a written. I don't want to micromanage this, but I am on this point just to help you. I feel like because it's a personnel board budget item. If it's a personnel, if it's an employee that's subject to the SAP that is opting out for some reason, I would like them to send a note to the chair saying why they can't attend. Not saying we're gonna hold a meeting and discuss it, but
Right,
I don't know, I just think, if they've scheduled vacation, that's about the only thing I can name, or they're sick the day of and they're actually using
Right.
8 hours of sick time that day. If we
Yeah.
think this is important,
and we can certainly send out a memo from the personnel board basically saying that any employee covered by the SAP is required unless they get prior approval not to attend. Okay. Okay, So I'll make a motion, that the board, authorize $2,500 to be spent for the DEI training to be conducted by, second,
Positive ripple training.
second. Yeah. Did you have something else? John?
second.
Yeah, okay. All in favor, Mr. Malinowski?
Oh, do we have, well,
Oh, wait.
we have to do,
Okay.
all right,
Okay, we're all in favor. That's approved. And I will make a motion that we authorize $450 to be spent on a public speaking training course by Mark Way. Second for that.
Second,
All in favor?
just a quick discussion amendment. Who is going, I didn't think I heard who that's gonna be offered to. I know I heard department heads presentations, employees for like one-on-one kind of conflict.
On as many people at all levels.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be specific to anyone.
Okay. All right, I'm good. Sorry, Barry.
No, it's okay. Are we going to take the same position with regard to that training? Because in terms of mandating? Because,
I don't think it's the same
yeah,
level
I
of
to me, it's not the
I-
same.
minimum number of people. If,
Yeah.
like, again, 3 or 5 people show up, we should cancel it.
Exactly. It wouldn't.
We should cancel it and not spend the money on it.
Okay, the motion was there. Was there a second? Sorry.
Dorian seconded, yeah.
Okay, all in favor? That's approved. And the Canva we will hold off on.
Can we, so Dorian, I know you want to get the right number, but I'm cautious on the time. Because we'd have to have another meeting to do that, can we set a threshold of not to exceed in this meeting? Right, I think Vanessa, did you use the word, did you use the word 1,000? Did I hear
Yes.
1,000 for this?
For the Canva?
Yeah,
Oh, I have no problem with doing that for the Canva.
okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I say, Jason's right. It may save us the need to have a meeting just.
I
for-
just want them to schedule it, start, right, like, that's the important part, let's get.
Right.
If this training's necessary for certain employees, let's just get them access to it and let Jay go buy it tomorrow.
But that would be this Canva training only, not a bunch of other stuff, right? The Canva,
Yeah.
okay.
One we really want to gear in on, we use it in our department, library, contract, you, COA. So that hits, a bunch of different.
So assuming we pass this motion, we'd be at 3950 of authorized spending for professional development. All right, then I'm gonna move that we authorize an amount not to exceed $1,000 for Canva training for employees that would benefit from it.
Second,
On favor? Approved.
Thank you very much.
Right?
Vanessa, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Way back in my career. I didn't have to pay for it, but the Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was a very good,
Whoever used it.
probably for department heads or whatever.
I'll take a look and see what they.
I had no idea what it cost.
Come across that and.
They sent me.
But I'll take a look.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, just for information, you have in your packet, what was sent out to department managers. Started on, performance appraisal. Any questions, comments on that? Next is a draft of, moving on to job descriptions, a draft of a memo that would come from the personnel board about the process, and how we're going to update the job descriptions. So there's two parts. There's a memo, and then you also have in your packet a sample job description. Vanessa and I plowed through a number of these, and that are sort of more aligned with the Collins Center scoring template than the job descriptions we had been using. Gives you the information you need. And, they're all very similar, not major differences. the organization of this one I like the best. We would supplement this format with Town of Southborough logo at the top, the job title, the job grade, and we have on the form the date that it was approved by the relevant board or committee and the date it was approved by the personnel board. So we would have that. And we can certainly put on the form any other information at the header that we think would be useful. But what do people think about the format?
That was fine,
Okay,
as long as they're all the same.
so as you can see from the process, Mark and Vanessa and staff will be working over the next several months to transfer the existing and updated job description to the formats that will then be sent for departments for review. Once they review it, they get approved by the relevant board or committee, and then it comes back here. There should be enough time. Mark had said Labor Day, I gave him an extra month or so. Because I think it may, because of, there's information required on this that probably doesn't show up on current job descriptions, so it may take some time. Okay, if there are no questions, I would first make a motion that we adopt the format in your package as the official job description for SAP employees in the town of Southborough.
Second,
All in favor? That's approved. Any questions, thoughts about the memo?
I think memo is great. I would just say in terms of process, and I don't think this goes in the memo, just, I think Vanessa, as you and Mark start working with the department heads, right? Some, right, like library probably has the most, right?
Yeah.
From what I can, right, and they're also separate appointed board. So just say, the extent we can start to knock some, like, right, if you want to set like almost like an internal calendar,
Right.
right, and work with these department heads, right? Like, obviously, it's gonna be a lot easier to do most of the folks in this building, as an example, that fall on, right, or a lot at Porterville Hall. You know, that's just something I've just start to,
We can sort of talk some of the easier ones.
right, like, yeah, and then that way, I think we'll, obviously, the select board will be able to react to a lot of those, right? And then we'll be able to react before we go and multiply this times 80, or whatever the exact
Yeah.
number is.
Yeah, I mean, part of what you're gonna need to do is sort of manage the process so that we don't just send these out and do nothing and then
Right.
get hit with all of them.
Yeah.
Some sort of internal worksheet to keep, track of, where things stand and who needs help marshaling through that process.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that the board approve the memo in your packet dated April 21, 2023 regarding job descriptions.
second,
All in favor? Great, thank you. Moving on to employee handbook, there's really nothing to report. We've been trying since the last meeting to get a meeting with Kate. We finally determined that's not going to happen, so we now have a meeting with her associate Alex Castro for Wednesday at 1:00.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I'll send out a link, to John and to Barry.
Did you say Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yes. I think you said you were.
I think it was Tuesday.
I can reconfirm that with you, John.
And if we need to reschedule, I think Alex is more reachable. Than
Yes.
Kate, who's tied up in town
It's
meetings.
just reviewing, the final draft in the middle of a pretty town meeting.
No progress on that. Yeah, we're still working. All right, last item is vacation policy. This is something we had touched on and briefly discussed. We need to do something in terms of policy. And particularly with regard to allowing employees to take some vacation before they would have earned it. That's a major thing, and I know we are gonna need Kate's input eventually. But we can probably talk about the parameters of what makes sense for employees. I mean, just think about it generally, it seems to me that if we had something that said all employees can take up to 2 weeks of their vacation before it's earned. John is shaking his head, but just let me throw this out there. And again, this is just one idea. People with 6 and 5 weeks, if they need it, they can carry over some. It's really the people who only
The 2 or
have 2 or
3
3
weeks,
weeks
yeah.
that you're trying to give some options to. So that was my thinking about maybe just saying you could take up to 2 weeks before it's earned. But John, you don't like the idea.
Maybe up 1 week.
Well, so John, remember, this goes back to a lot of the conversations we had over the winter and early spring, right? Instead of front loading it, right, which we have a lot of conversations of, call it differing views on the board, right? I think we're hearing loud and clear that we have our less tenured employees have struggled to use the vacation time such that it meets operational needs, right? Sometimes in a year, they just can't take vacation, and it may not match up perfectly to their anniversary date, which is when they're hired, which is completely arbitrary because there was an opening. So I think this is just a way that you're not front loading and putting someone bank that they could cash out on, but giving a little flexibility subject to some approval process. And then I think you have to put maybe buried if let's just say we got 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever we decide on. I think there's a second part of that is that you do have some policy that there would be a payback provision if someone takes 2 weeks off and then all of a sudden comes back and says, I'm going to work here or there, sort of thing. So that there is the town would not be out anything for this. It's just allowing actually probably better operational excellence in terms of how you run your departments and allowing the employees to take vacation when they want it. Like some people it's better in the summer, some people it's not better in the summer for whatever reason, and we don't need to go down all those reasons. So that's what I would hopefully accomplish. I think we kind of promised it as part of how we got to it. Obviously, you can change your minds at any point in time, but I don't think it costs us anything, and I think it makes it a lot more flexible, which I think is the goal.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hired in April, May, June, you really can't take a summer vacation. Right now.
I hate to be so against, but everything that, and I've been an employee also, everything's trending towards we'll mail you, you don't have to come into work Thursday, but for a couple of weeks, but we'll mail you the check anyway. I just don't.
Well, this isn't giving them any more vacation. It's just allowing them to use it in a way that's more convenient.
Don't. Got to put in the time.
But they're still, whether they take 2 weeks in December or 2 weeks in June doesn't cost the town anymore, and they're still putting in the same amount of
They have
time.
not earned it.
Wants them to earn it before they get to take it.
But if they leave, the town gets them. I mean, we're not paying.
I mean, Jen, you have employees that have been here 4 or 5 years that still struggle with it. This isn't like new hires. I agree. You have to wait till they get through their 6-month probationary type time period, right? That's totally different. We're talking about employees that are, I mean, some of them made some pretty impassioned pleas. That's the only reason why I think this is on our radar, right? That they struggle to use it, and it's, then they're jamming it into time periods where they're not really actually able to do anything with it. They're gonna earn it. It's within that fiscal year. It's just a matter of when they earn it.
Don't believe in it.
He doesn't. He
That's
doesn't.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk more about how obviously, we need to have a conversation with council and their assistance in drafting the policy. But in terms of how we would think about it being structured. You know, I threw out one idea, but I'm open to obviously other thoughts on how we might do it.
So we think this is 2 or 3 week employees, right? In terms of. that's
Those
big
are the
for a
ones
year.
where, yeah,
Like, I think very seldom would you find a 4, 5, or 6 needing
they could
this
do
provision.
and carry over and deal with it.
I mean, I would say up to 2. I mean, my general parameters would be no more than 2. With department head approval, and if they are a department head, then it would have to go to personnel board, sorry, not personnel, but personnel director or the appointing authority, right? Planning is a good example, right? And have some sort of, and this is probably where we need Kate's help, some sort of financial recourse if someone uses this in a way that we're not intending it, or they use it with all good intent, but then find this really lucrative or other great job opportunity that's outside the town of Southborough.
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. So if that is something that could actually happen, and I don't believe our employees would do that, but if we have somebody who comes in, why would we put ourselves in a position of up to 2 weeks? Why don't we just limit it to 1 week? And then if it's just less of an impact, if something were to happen. I mean, how many people actually, when they start a new job, immediately are gonna go take 2 weeks? They might take a week of
Well, it's
vacation.
not a new job. I'm more.
But like, but it's someone who's been here 1 to 5 years, like someone who's a new hire, say they come in April. You can't really use vacation until they've earned it right now, the way it is. And you
Yeah.
want to say you can take up to 2 weeks now.
Well, they can't because they're in the first 6 months.
Yeah,
Okay, well, after 6 months, then they can take 2 weeks. I think I would be more comfortable with just a week. And because if they were to leave, it's less of a battle and less of a loss in case something happens and we don't get paid back. I'm just kind of looking at the ramifications, if this, then that.
but
If
they're
they take 2
being,
weeks, it's more money
Okay.
versus a week. I don't see why we have to do
You have
2.
to leave, it's a legal question, right? Like, just see what I would get Kate's reaction.
I'm just trying to understand why you want to go 2 weeks versus just 1 week.
Because of how crazy some of these anniversary dates are. And looking at the data. Like looking at how like it rolls.
and Brian, they're being paid 2 weeks in arrears. So I'm trying to think of someone takes 2 weeks before they have earned it and doesn't come back. They would not have received pay for that. I mean, obviously, they would have been paid in the regular schedule, but they wouldn't have received excess pay. It would just mean we wouldn't owe them anything on their termination, or am I?
You probably have a chance to have.
Yeah.
Because the timeline.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. So it would be hard for someone to actually get away with.
Yeah, again, I think it's a very rare instance, but you always have to assume the worst and hope for the best.
So,
Well, it's not that big of a deal to me. I'm happy to go to go with you guys on the 2 weeks. It's not that much of a sticking point. I'm just trying to understand why we're using a 2 week basis versus a 1 week basis.
I think we need to hear from Kate, just to make sure, right, like that various examples, great. Right, because if Brian has the ability to do that, and we're on a 2 week flag, then it doesn't really, I think,
Okay.
it hope, right? But if Kate says, well, you gotta do this, then that, then this, and right, because we're tight, you know, just. I think that may inform our decision, so I don't think we need to commit to 1 versus
Okay.
2 today. Well, and I'm hoping, right, we know employees watch this. I think if any of them have feedback and believe strongly of why it should be 2 versus 1,
Call Jason.
they can certainly send either of us an email, right? And we're developing a framework, right? And then now I'm hoping Kate has a sample of, because this started my discussion with her when we were trying to get to consensus. So maybe Barry, I don't know if you're comfortable adding that to your employee
But that's
handbook.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I'll probably have,
Yeah,
they're not easy to get, so we should take advantage of the conversation.
yeah, go ahead and raise it.
Harry.
Yeah.
This, vacation policy that we're talking about apply to all SAP employees.
Yeah,
All right, the department head have the ability to set a vacation policy within their own department. You know, like who's eligible? Say you got two people who want vacation at the same time. If they got a policy to establish that, who gets it?
Well, the SAP talks about, requesting vacation time with the approval of your manager. But
Maybe-
the provisions and the amounts are all governed. by it.
We have very few departments in the SAP that have more than a department head and one employee. Right, in most instances, and I think the department heads have wide latitude, but I don't think you can have individual policies within departments, other than obviously the unions, but those are covered by obviously the union
Yeah, they're not. SAP.
agreements, how that works.
okay.
No.
Anything else on this?
No.
Wonderful. All right, any other business? Before,
Next meeting date?
well, we have a meeting date of, a tentative meeting date, I want to say of May 12th, because I'm going to be away for a month. The question is, do we need that meeting? Certainly, we're not going to be, I don't expect to be sufficiently advanced on the handbook to have anything real to report by May 12th. We may potentially have something on vacation policy, possibly. So I'm open, I'm happy to have the meeting. What do people think?
Well, I'm babysitting for my grandkids, so it might be a little noisy for me to have a meeting. that
I would
I won't be
say,
here first.
Barry, you let us know when we need to meet next,
Yeah.
like if. Right, because issues, you'll know an update on handbook right after this week. You'll know, we don't have any new hires, right? They're gonna be subject to SAP hopefully for a while, right? So like, I think, yeah, so I think you just let us know when we need to meet again, but it doesn't sound to me like we have anything substantive to discuss, and I'm not a big fan of having a meeting to have a meeting. I know what our bylaw says we're supposed to do, but I also think,
I think we put in our time.
yeah.
Yeah, if we don't have to have the meeting, I prefer not to.
All right, we'll leave it open for now, and I can talk to Michelle too, to find out what it works.
Well, I will have to be Zoom for that day.
Well, I don't,
Not gonna be.
If we-
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're away anyway.
well, I'll be away starting the 15th for a month, so. Okay,
2 months off. Kidding. Go.
I don't get paid during that period, don't worry. Okay, is there any public comment?
I don't know if it's on Zoom.
Just Brian Donovan.
Not just Ryan,
Exactly.
especially Ryan. Okay,
Oh, hang on, go too fast. There is a hand. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say hi, but also I was following the discussion and I looked for the packet just to see if I could get an example of the job description, the new format, and it wasn't there. So I don't know if I can touch base with either Vanessa or Barry after, but just I think it was noted by Jason that I've got a lot of them to work on. So I just wanted to look at the format when I get a chance. I wanted to kind of do my homework early, if that makes sense. So thank you.
okay, that's good. Yeah, it wasn't in the original
Let me
package.
get the revised packet.
It was a revised packet that we can look at it to you.
Yep, I can send that to you just as soon as we're done here.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Ryan. Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
On favor? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
5 minutes, record. So long.